This shit's out of my niche. Not my typical yard, you know what I mean?
Alright, so this is a yard I took on this spring. My buddy Luke said, hey, you should take on some bigger properties, get you a bigger mower and kind of go from there. And I was like, alright, I'll pick up this property. I was thinking about buying this used, I think it was a 52 stand-on. It was an Exmark. And I was like, I might buy it, I might not, right? Which I am still thinking about buying a larger mower for the properties I have, but still catering to the niche that I'm in currently until I plan to expand down the road. I did not pause the screen. This is real-time speed. Somebody told me I needed some real-time speed, so I went and had some in. No way would I show you me mowing an acre and a half, a little over an acre and a half, with a 36-inch mower in real time. I just wouldn't do that to you. If you want to know how long it took, it takes about an hour consistently with a 36. So I mowed this for about half the season, and then the actual property sold, and they're going to be building a building there. So I was just kind of taking care of it while it sold. And since I took it on, I went ahead and stuck it out. Now the area with the trees over here, I mowed between the trees that are separated, but there's a distinct grass line that I didn't have to mow. So that was alright. There were a lot of poison ivy and fallen tree limbs and stuff like that in there. This is when I still had my black Chevy. You can see it in there. So very, very hot. This was probably sometime in August. Really couldn't tell you. It wasn't any fun though. Alright, I'm going to show you a lot measurement real fast. Alright, I took this measurement using the lot measurement tools off of the site maps on the Yard Book app. I don't use the actual app on your phone. I actually log in through Google, but this is what I use for invoicing, lot measurements, and things of that nature. It's a really good app. I would highly suggest it. But yeah, from here you can see that it is 1.57 acres or 68,000 square feet. It's definitely not a tiny lot, not my typical size yard. My normal size yard is about 10,000 square feet, and that is including the house. And they normally take me about 15 to 20 minutes on the high side. So I average about 2.5 yards per hour by myself. Sometimes I get 3. Occasionally when I'm going full speed and it's a real perfect perfect day where like there's no craziness, like, you know, the temperature's been right, there's not a lot of humidity because that makes the grass cut weird, or like, you know, if it's wet, there's just a lot of factors into what goes into allowing you to have a real fast day. Like when it starts getting dry like this in August, normally you're cruising right along. We had a lot of rain this year, so even in the time period of the year where it should have been where we were cutting lawns and it was going faster, it was growing like spring all the way up until like October. So having said all that, this lawn was not profitable at all for me. It did bring in extra revenue, so you know, it's an acre and a half lot, man. It brought in above $500 a month in mowing it because I only mow weekly. But having said that, even though that I was cutting it weekly, this lot grows, man. It's a lot of weeds. There were sections that didn't grow real fast. I'm way in the back right now, if you can see. That section grew very fast. But you know, I mean, that is what it is. Now, if you were gonna do this, oop, I ran out of gas all the way in the back of the property. Anyways, if you were going to do this, and I was probably getting a drink, I guess, maybe put my headphones up, who knows. My headphones always died on this property for some reason. Not that one property makes them die. They're Bluetooth headphones, but they always tended to die on this property. I'd do this either, well, sometimes it was in the middle of the day, but I'd try to get here real early in the morning, unless it was wet, and then it'd be the last one of the day. Never fun. It wasn't fun finishing this and on a Velke, because it was very, very hard soil, and you know, people have gotten cars up there and joyrided, or they've used it to, you know, shortcut to their backyard so they could bring some furniture in or whatever it might have been. But there were a lot of ruts in it, so it wasn't a smooth ride. Now my buddy Luke has a big old Toro sit-down Z0 mower, 72-inch mower. It would have cut this fast, like nothing. You go top speed and it's still a smooth ride. You could do lawns like this all day, and this would be like perfect scenario for him. No edging, no weed eating, no nothing. You just jump your mower up there and you go, and he'd knock this out in about 15 minutes, and he'd probably make, you know, somewhere upwards of like, I don't know, $100, I would assume. I mean, you're talking about an acre and a half. I would at least assume $100. And he'd be in and out on it, man. So I mean, people make big money on big properties, but you gotta have the right equipment. For me, like I said, my niche has always been the smaller properties, so I have the 36-inch mower. I have had a 48 before. It works real good. I did used to do a lot of push mowing. Have I mowed lots that were an acre and a half with a push mower? Yeah, I was pretty stupid in the beginning of my business. I've done it. I had a very nice 1 acre lot, real nice, way out of town, but I justified it because I said, well, I take care of her flower beds, and I do the mulch, and I trim all the bushes, and she's got a koi pond, and I clean that out. So with all this other stuff, I make really good money. I don't make much on her mowing, but I make really good money on this other stuff. Oh, this is real time too. That would have been a boring video. No, I'm just kidding. There are some out there that do real-time videos, and that it's pretty interesting. I think the tall lawn videos where they're smacking those down are kind of fun. You probably won't see me do that in the future. I don't do really any tall stuff anymore. I'm just tired of beating up my mowers, and I'm tired of beating up my body, and I've kind of got to the stage where I'm not doing crazy stuff. I used to do stuff that was like up to my chin, man, and I did it with push mowers and stuff, and you know, weed eated it down. It was crazy. It's a stage in business. If you're doing real tall stuff, that's cool, man. Pay your bills. Do what you got to do. Make sure you charge enough to justify for it. Now, moving back to the woman out there, I was doing her koi pond. She was one of the best customers I've ever had. Incredibly nice. Was my first $1,000 day in a business. I did her mulch, and I cleaned the pond at the same time, and then we mowed the yard. It was me with an employee, and we push mowed the whole yard. It was an acre lot. When I first started that property, it was a pretty bare lot, and then because she had just moved in, and then shortly after, she put, I believe, 40 or 50 juniper trees in the back of the property, and I probably have some pictures I can pull up here. If I find some, I'll put some in. 40 or 50 juniper trees in the back of the property, and then 75 Photinia on one side, 45 on the other, multiple trees in the center of the property, staggered bushes that were in like normally groups of 3 or 5. So there were a lot of obstacles in that property. After a while, I had no more straight shots in the large area of the property, and I mowed that with the 48 for a couple years, and then I mowed it with the 36. I believe I had her for about 5 years as a customer. Like I said, wonderful customer. Really taught me a lot about business. Because you'll find these customers that are your big dollar customers, and their accounts are big, and then one day you'll kind of maybe figure out it's not as profitable as it would have been. Like if it were closer to me and I had a route around her, it would have been a very profitable property. But either way, I'm really glad I had the opportunity to work with her. It was a really cool property too, because there were a large variety of plants. So I learned a lot from the plants and how to trim and stuff like that. When I got into this business, I didn't know anything about it. Like, you know, you talk about edging a sidewalk. I didn't know how to edge a sidewalk, man. I came from a broke little town, and edging a sidewalk was taking a weed eater and just slamming it to the dirt and doing that at like a 45 bevel. That's gonna look good. You can see the sidewalk now. You know, you go out, and I when I bought my first house in Kansas, I actually dug up the sidewalk because it was completely covered, and I got done. It took like all day with a shovel, and I just found the edge of the sidewalk and dug it all up, and I was like, look baby, look what I did, and showed my wife, and I thought I was doing real good, and I dug this spot. I was going to make a little paver spot. Didn't know what I was doing there either. That was a fun period of my time, or fun time period of my life, and then I ended up being in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's where my wife's from. That's what drugged me here. Love will do a lot of things, brings you to the right places, and I ended up here in Tulsa. So a lot of work. Learned to find. I learned a lot about business, and then in the process, I learned my niche. What do I like doing? And over the last several years, I've started honing that in. Because when I first started, I was like, it's all about grass, man. I'll cut anything, big or small. The person that's cutting big and small is not efficient. They can do that, but you're not making the same amount of money. So say you got a big mower and it's making you a lot of money, and it's like the most expensive piece of equipment you have. Don't you want to use that biggest mower all the time? And I mean, when it comes to push mowing, I'm not saying if you push mow it's wrong. Like I said, I push mowed for a long time, and I push mowed very big stuff with the push mower. What I've come to find out is I wasn't able to competently charge what I should have charged. Okay, as you can see, it's a larger property, very nice property in an affluent area. It was a newer neighborhood, so these houses were maybe 5 to 10 years old. This customer had this house built shortly before I came out here and started working. And I had things like the mulch, so I got awesome pictures. I got experience doing some mulch. It was my biggest mulch job at the time, and it was 5 yards to do everything. Here you can see all the trees that were planted afterwards, and this isn't even where it ended with the property, but you can see them all out there by the fence line. There's a whole lot of them, and a lot in the yard. And over in the corner on the right, you'll see there's a walkway that I had to scalp down. And that went all the way from around the pond by the back patio, all the way around those plants and up to the front gate. There were grading, so different levels and little hills on it. You can kind of see on the juniper trees there were some yellowing, and I got to learn things about the juniper trees as well. Things like bagworms. I didn't know about bagworms. And I got to learn how to identify different things. So taking on properties, and as you grow, you learn a lot of different things. I get to learn about the different plants and how to trim them and the best way to pull the weeds, all sorts of stuff. It was an awesome property to work on. It really was. And all that, and I was using this trailer here when I first started. And she took a leap of faith with me, and so I don't know if she watches my videos, but if she does, Cheryl, thank you, because I learned a lot at your property, and you are a wonderful client.